Good day, everybody, and welcome to 20 Minutes on Ice, powered by the Garage Door Sports Network. I'm your host, Ryan, and as always, in the co-host position is Nick. We've got a great show coming up for you, so let's get right to our opening face-off. Today on 20 Minutes on Ice, we're going to be talking about Pierre-Luc Dubois. He wants out of Columbus. We're also going to be talking about how teams are handling the COVID protocols in the NHL, and we have a new segment to debut this week and going forward, Players of the Week. We'll get into that later. And of course, we wrap everything up with a bow with the Randomizer. But joining me is the official helmet entitlement sponsor of the podcast, Nick McVicker. Nick, how are you this week?
I'm good, man. And yes, we have to make sure everyone has the right helmets. They all have to be certified. Don't want anyone getting conkies on the show. That'd be awful. Be awful.
I love, you gotta love, we talked about it briefly, but how they phrased it as helmet entitlement sponsors. They are entitled to this space, and so they will take it on the helmets. So
well, most of them are just the arena sponsors.
Yeah, and apparently it's not even really too much of a revenue generator this year because it's just making good on deals from last year. Where money was lost. So that's most of the situations there. So but let's get it. Lots of going on in the NHL right now. First off, how good is it just to have hockey back on TV, like meaningful hockey?
Oh, it's phenomenal. And you and me have been talking pretty much every day since the season started.
I love
just
it.
Like, hey, did you see that? Or, man, these guys aren't playing well. Or, I disagree. I think they are playing well.
It's so good.
Pretty much been every night.
Yeah, and it's so good to have. I get disappointed when there's not a Pacific Coast game on. Like I tonight, as we record, for instance, the Hawks and the Panthers are playing, and then there's nothing. It's like, where's my Ducks or Kings or Sharks game? It's now, now I feel entitled. So but it's so good to have hockey back and see the players playing. But a nice little bonus is that with my Sportsnet subscription this year, I also got access to NHL Live, so I do get to see those games. So that was a nice,
awesome.
Yeah, that's a nice little bonus. It's all. I don't know if you've ever had the package before, how many times you've had it.
I have.
Yeah, and it's just nice to
I have had it.
Yeah, it's nice to have the games available to you.
Oh, it's great. I had it in university. So while I was alone by myself, and that meant every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, when we weren't out partying or if I wasn't working, like I was watching some form of hockey during the school year. Because you have to imagine, like, hockey starts in October and runs till May.
Yeah, June
usually,
for Stanley Cup. Yeah, maybe
into June.
Yep.
Which means school's done at April, so that's like 7 out of the 8 months that I'm at school. There's hockey on. So it came with our internet package. That's the only reason that I had it, and I ran with it. I'm like, sure, absolutely, I will watch this as much as I possibly can.
Yes, exactly. Like it's comes late at night, and someone's like, the wife will be like, let's throw something on Netflix. It's like, no, I'd rather watch the Coyotes in Vegas play. It's a big West Coast game. I got to watch it,
Yeah. Well, you got to make sure that she doesn't know, right? Like it's not like it's the Sharks versus the Ducks.
Just sneak it.
No, that game you can't really play. You can't really hide.
But a typical early season, a lot of sloppy play, missed passes, a lot of teams not executing on the power plays, I find. And it's just stuff that, they have a week and a half preseason. So stuff that
it depends on when the players were actually able to get on the ice. Some of them it was a full 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Some teams were 3 because they didn't play since March of last year. It was a mess. And the one thing that really stood out to me was the goaltending. Some of the goaltenders were phenomenal. I did see a lot of what I deem weak goals. So the ones that they should have had and they kind of got a piece of, but didn't get all of. And if they had more time and more practice, and they would have been fine, and they would have squeezed that between the arm, or wouldn't have gone between the glove. But it was just like a squeaker, and it got through, and it got in the net. Those weak goals, I saw a lot of those the first week. I don't expect to continue to see that. I feel like the goalies will get it fine in like a week or two, but you saw a lot of that, and the players have not been playing well either.
No, things are going to tighten up. You got to give it some time.
We hope.
It should tighten up. Like there's lots of reasons it should tighten.
The odds, yes, the odds are in your favor, Ryan, that it will tighten up.
Yeah. So we have it's usually about a month it takes to start kind of getting into the flow. But I think what you'll see is, and maybe this year, because it's so different from every other year, you'll see some teams that are going to fall back or make gains in the standings where normally you could brush them off because they're so far back. But there's going to be flops this year, like flip-flops in the standings, just because you're playing
absolutely
in your division, and a win is so huge and a loss is so devastating.
Well, that's the biggest thing, right? Is that every game is a 4-point game.
Yeah.
There's no 2-point games in the division because you're literally playing a team in your division every night.
Yep.
Every game is a 4-point game. And we saw it with the Leafs this week playing Ottawa twice. They lost, and that's a big 2 points for the Leafs to lose early in the season. I know it's against Ottawa, and like they notoriously struggle against Ottawa, but that's 2 points that they're not going to get back.
And the lower teams,
and that's a problem.
Yeah, the lower teams in your division for everyone are the teams that you want to beat up on. It's almost nothing is guaranteed win night in the NHL, but you have to go in it like this is 2 points that we have to have. And the teams that don't achieve those on multiple occasions are going to be the teams, obviously, that do not make the playoffs. Nick, you got a bit of a tracker going on here. And it revolves around the Florida Panthers because news came out that I believe Frank Saravalli of TSN reported that teams are buzzing around looking to see if Alexander Barkov of the Florida Panthers is available.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised that teams are looking, but I would be surprised if Florida moves him right now, only because he's their captain.
Yeah.
Like, let's not forget that. He's the captain of this team. And along with Huberdeau, those guys are 2 all-stars, like perennial all-stars, and will be for the next few years. And you and me joked about it when we did the Central Division preview. And it's like, hey, like, we need to keep eye because you didn't think Barkov was as good as Huberdeau. No, I think Barkov is as good as Huberdeau, maybe not as flashy as Huberdeau.
I do like Huberdeau better. I think, and Barkov's a very good player.
But you were making it sound like he wasn't when we were doing that conversation. So I'm like, you know what? We're doing it. And here is the inaugural. We're going to call it something really clever. It's going to be Barks and Hubie Watch. All right. It is Barks and Hubie Watch.
It's an
for the NHL season where we track their points. And as of right now, this very minute, because they are playing, so it's kind of hard. But as of right now, Huberdeau is leading the Barks and Hubie Watch. He has got 2 assists in their first game. Don't forget, they didn't play earlier in the week because they were supposed to start the season off against Dallas. Dallas's game's obviously postponed. Move that on. So
that's no
Huberdeau
excuse.
has 2 assists.
Huberdeau.
Sorry,
still,
what?
That's no excuse. Huberdeau is still leading Barkov in the points race. Thus, Huberdeau is a better player than Barkov.
Yes, but Keith Yandel, who wasn't even supposed to play in this game, is beating them both in goals. So,
what is going on there? I mean, can these teams like Florida and Arizona, teams that can't, like, they can't steer away from catastrophe. They just find these gong shows. It's like the reverse in Toronto, or you just know you have to be careful in Toronto because things can blow up in the media. It's like, does Florida and Arizona and other cities not understand that you need to be careful because things can blow up? Like, they're not going to play Yandel. They're going to end his streak, which is up to that's a coach's decision. But you have some clout in the league, and you want to be the player needs to be approached in a proper manner. The team said they did that. The player said they did not do that. And after several days going back and forth, boom, Keith Yandel's in the lineup right now playing against the Chicago Blackhawks. Just Florida can't
and scored the second goal of the game.
He did. He jumped into the bench pretty much to celebrate too.
I would have. Are you kidding me? I would have jumped right at the coach. This is what you get.
And did Florida put him in the lineup because of, outside pressures? What happened there? Or because the team was calling for a mutiny?
There's no real indication either way, just because we probably won't ever find out how he ended up in the lineup. But you know what? Good for him for going in and saying, yeah, this sucks, but I'm going to just keep playing my game, because the only thing he can control is how he plays on the ice, how he shows up to practice. And if he's doing everything right, which again, we don't know because we're not down in Florida hanging out with the team. We're not around the locker room. We have no idea. But by the sounds of it, Keith Yandle is doing everything right. If he continues to do that, you can't blame the player. And if Florida wants to sit him and doesn't want him to play, move him. Because there's teams in the league that will take him as a second pair defenseman or a third pair defenseman, right? There are teams in the league that will take Yandle in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but there's contract issues there. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a big ticket, and for a declining player, he's a declining player. The money's too big at the moment, so that's an issue. But I mean, it just seems like this wasn't handled properly. There was former players on Twitter saying how this is just Coach Q flexing his muscle. This is, kind of a Weasley move by the organization. And like we said, we had two different versions coming out. The team saying, no, we prepared Keith Yandle that this was going to happen. And Keith Yandle saying, nope, they're just, they didn't say a word to me. So, but hopefully Florida can find a solution there for someone who has put in so much time in the league. But again, the contract may be an issue there for Keith Yandle.
And you know what? I'll agree that the contract is big. It's 6.35 for the next 3 years.
3 years still to go.
Yeah. But I had 45 points in 69 games last year, 62 the year before, 56 the year before that. And I mean, he only played 69 games, add another 13 games on, maybe add another 7 points, 6 points in that range. So he's over 50 points again. He's not a useless player. He got 3 assists in 4 playoff games for Florida last year in the play-in round. Mm-hmm. He's a good defenseman. It's not like he's declining that fast.
There might be
there's some teams with lots of cap space, maybe like an Ottawa,
who may take a chance on him, or they may force Florida
leadership role.
Yeah, they may force Florida to who's in a disadvantage. Who's doesn't have the high ground in that trade. They may force Florida to take some money back in a trade for Yandle. So,
and that's possible too.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes. Nick, you ready to get into Pierre-Luc Dubois COVID protocols and players of the week?
I think I'm ready.
All right, let's hit it. Pierre-Luc Dubois, he wants out of Columbus. Preferred destination is Montreal. Nick, I would say it sounds like the debate here is, well, for me, is this guy a number one center? He plays number one center minutes in Columbus. I'm looking at the stats. I know he came with a pretty high pedigree, drafted 3rd overall. Is this guy a number one center?
On 16 to 20 teams, he might not be right now. But that still leaves 10 to 15 teams where he is a number one center.
So if he goes to Montreal, he's a number one center there.
Yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about it in my mind. I think they might put him on the second line, and the only reason I say that is because they really like Philippe Deneau on that top line for chemistry purposes, not as a number one center, but for chemistry purposes. They like him on there. He wins draws. He works really well with the other 2 guys. So they might keep him there and put Dubois on the second line with, it depends on who they move, but if Suzuki's still there, Suzuki will go on that line with him. So there's a lot of options, a lot of moving parts that would have to play into that decision. But yeah, I think he is the top centerman on the Montreal Canadiens if he goes there.
Yeah, I can see him being the top centerman, and I think if Montreal were to make the trade, Deneau might go the other way because
he might.
Columbus now would need a number one center replacement, or at least a 1B or a second 2. So Deneau might go the other way as part of a package. We have no clue, but I think if you were to keep Deneau, so this is where I'm contradicting myself. Dubois is not a 1A first line center, but keeping Deneau in that position, that's just a team falling in love with their player, over evaluating their own player because they see them constantly. I think Montreal would have to move Dubois into that situation. But for me,
here's my thing. Hold on. Here's the one thing that I want to build on. I'm going to name 2 lines for you, right, or 2 sets of wingers for you right now on Montreal. Okay, they're top 2 sets of wingers. So you tell me which one's line 1 and line 2 based off of the players.
Right.
So you have Thomas Tatar and Brandon Gallagher, or Jonathan Drouin and Josh Anderson.
Well, Josh Anderson showed that he might be top line in the first game, but yeah,
Exactly.
those are even pairings. I do know who's the number one pairing, but yeah,
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It might not be the worst thing to put him on the line with Drouin and Anderson,
Yeah.
especially because he knows Anderson from his Columbus days, because Anderson played there last year.
yeah. So
Had a little chemistry there. You already have the chemistry of the top line. There's no real issue putting him on that
no,
second line.
well, Montreal is full of second line players, right? I mean, Nick Suzuki could be a top line player. We'll see where Anderson goes. He's had a great start to the season. Now we're assuming that Dubois is going to Montreal, but Columbus has no obligation to accommodate Dubois here. Like, I wouldn't even, this guy says he wants out of your organization. I mean, I can trade you to Montreal, but only if they're willing to pay a fair price. I'm not working with Montreal just because Dubois wants to go there. I think that's like Columbus probably feels this way, but they should feel no pressure to trade Dubois to the Montreal Canadiens.
And it doesn't look like they do. Like, the package that they're asking for is Nick Suzuki or Kasperi Kotkaniemi and Victor Mete.
Who do you move?
Right? That's a package. If I'm moving one, I'm probably moving Kotkaniemi. But
Yeah.
I think Nick Suzuki is more ready for the NHL and has a little bit better ability than Kotkaniemi. I know he's a year older, so it's kind of a toss up because they're both young guys. But I would say I'd be keeping Suzuki right now, based off what I've seen in the NHL. Maybe not what we've seen at some of the lower levels, but as of NHL players, he looks more ready and more willing to play for the Montreal Canadiens than Kotkaniemi does on some nights.
Yeah. So anyways, fair points there, and I would have to agree with you. Back to Columbus. I mean, I guess I'm like John Tortorella. I don't really like John Tortorella, but in this situation, I agree with him. This player is quitting on the team, and he has his personal reasons, whatever they may be. He needs to get out. Okay. But you are still quitting on this team, which you signed a contract and agreed to play for. That was signing the contract so he could play and get traded. But you're bailing. You're bailing. And if I'm Columbus, I have no feelings of I would almost avoid trading him to Montreal. Like, I will not do you a favor. Don't say you want out and then tell me your number one preferred destination. That is just a continued slap in the face.
Well, see what I'm wondering, and this is just me speculating and trying to figure out the whole scenario, because we're only being told stuff that we want to be told, right? It's not going to be the clearest of days sort of thing. But it sounds like he actually did everything right when he approached it. He didn't go out to the media and say, I want out. That never came out.
Yep.
It came out from John Tortorella and the team saying that, hey, he has asked for a trade. We've never heard Pierre-Luc Dubois actually say that. We've never heard his agent say that. No one around him has said that. He approached the team. He talked to his teammates. He did everything on that side fairly right. So I'm wondering if the reverse is true as well, that the organization is like, okay, you want out. Where would you like to go? And where are other options for you to go?
Right.
Like, they probably approached him and said that as well. And we're just hearing Montreal because that was his number one destination. I don't know. There's no way for me to know that because it hasn't been made clear. But that is my thinking right now, is that the team approached him. They said, hey, listen, we understand that you want out. If everything was ideal and you could go wherever you want, where would it be? And then what are some other options? But we're only being told that Montreal is the option right now. And I don't think that's true. I think there's other teams that he's probably said as well. But I think that's the one that's come out, and that's the one people are picking on.
Yeah. And if Montreal knows they're the option, they're not going to offer Columbus a fair deal. And it sounds like, according to Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday during their headlines, that Columbus is going to be patient. They have no rush to trade Dubois. Now, Dubois might be able to force their hand a bit by maybe, all of a sudden he's not participating in practices or his
that doesn't
play.
help him at all.
No, it doesn't.
The thing is, that doesn't help him at all.
It
the
helps
only
him.
thing that actually helps Pierre-Luc Dubois is playing well.
It's a chip it's one of his cards he can play to progress a trade, to make a trade come faster. It's not the best chip. You're not helping your team. It doesn't help his reputation in the long run. But if he feels and his agent feels that the trade isn't coming quick enough, that is unfortunately one of the cards you can play.
I'm sorry, if I was his agent and he came to me and said, "Hey, I want to sit out because this trade isn't happening," I would say, "Fucking work harder and get some more points and make your trade value go up because it's your fault that it's not happening."
Yeah.
At this point.
But the agent, remember,
it has nothing to do with the team.
The agent works for the player, so that usually doesn't happen, right? We usually see.
But you know what I mean.
I hear you. I absolutely hear you. That's the reasonable thing to do, Nick. And eventually, these situations don't get to a reasonable level. They go past that, and people get unreasonable. Now, the last point on Dubois I want to make is, does he have superstar potential? I don't think. I think he's a 1B center. He should be a package with another 1B center. He's only 4 years into his career. This is year number 5, I believe. Does he have potential to be a clear number 1 and a superstar?
Clear number 1, yes. I think he has potential to be a very clear number 1. Superstar depends on your definition of superstar. Are we talking like all-star players as superstars?
A guy who's looking.
Are we talking like Barkov, Huberdeau as superstars? No, I'm trying to figure out examples of what we're using.
Can he get to Huberdeau's level?
I feel like he would be like a half step behind Huberdeau.
I don't
if
feel
that makes sense. Like I think he's going to be very, very good. I really do.
Yeah, he's very good. I think what we see now is what we get with Pierre-Luc Dubois.
I think he has another level to go to. I really do. And I think he has another level to go where he's the clear-cut number one on any team he goes to, except for like the obvious, like playing behind McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, like, you know, the like elite of the elite players. If he goes to that team, yeah, you're a number 2. I'm sorry, buddy. Like you don't get to play that game. But every other team, he's a number 1.
You know who keeps coming up, but I don't think they have the pieces or want to trade the pieces. But we're going to talk about him again. Ottawa. It's close-ish to Montreal. I know they have Josh Norris playing their number 1 center role right now, but I'll take Dubois over Josh Norris. I know they want to give
absolutely
Josh Norris a shot, so I can see him fitting into Ottawa. I can't see necessarily the pieces going back to Columbus in that manner. So.
Well, Ottawa does have a very good prospect pool, so they might be able to put a prospect team together, a prospect thing together. But you got to remember they got Logan Brown, they've got Eric Brandstrom in their minors, Alex Formenton, former Canadian national team player. So they have pieces in the minors in the system that are ready to go, but
Batherson is up with them. Norris is up with them.
Batherson's up now. Yeah.
Stutzel's not going anywhere, so let's not think about that. But yes, they have pieces. So who knows? It could work. I mean, I guess all possibilities are on the table right now, and I really don't think we see Dubois get moved unless it's a blockbuster or we're talking trade deadline down the road. I should look up when the trade deadline is. Obviously it's different this year, so that's going to be fun. Let's move on, Nick, to teams adapting to COVID-19 protocols in the NHL. And the first thing that comes to mind is apparently masks on the coaches' faces seems to be a huge problem. When they're communicating, they cannot communicate with a mask on. They must pull it down. And it's right on TV. It's all over the place. I think I've seen every coach pull down their mask and start yelling at whatever they need to yell at, and their spittle's flying everywhere, and you don't know what's in the spittle. I know they're being tested, but it was so rampant on the first 2 nights of action. I really thought the NHL would have been sending out a memo to all 30 teams, and
they did.
They did. Okay. And it hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. I'm still seeing coaches pulling down masks. I'm not convinced. This is a negative outlook, but I'm not convinced that players are properly following COVID protocols on the road. Sure, maybe. But when they're at home, no, I'm not convinced that they're following proper protocols, but that's just me speculating. So this is, I mean, it's whatever. We take the season that we get and stuff's going to happen, but coaches, keep your masks on.
Yeah, and I mean, we had you on Garage Door Sports this weekend, and we talked about this on Garage Door Sports as well. And I made the joke that, like, the coaches are doing a great job covering their mouth with their mask because none of them are wearing it above their mouth. You can still see their nose on every shot on the camera.
Yeah.
It's half the battle, but that's not the whole point of the mask. Like, the mask is there to protect everybody, and if you're pulling it down consistently and spitting, like you mentioned, it's not doing anything.
And when you're yelling, when you're yelling like the coaches are, I mean, that your spittle's gonna fly farther. And the only way that they could make that work is if they put plexiglass between the coach's bench and the player's bench. But then the coaches, the coaches need a way. They want to get attention, so. We talked about this on Garage Door Sports. Go check out that podcast. Nick had me on. It was awesome. We probably went overboard on the hockey talk, but that's what happens.
No, not at all, because we spent another 40 minutes talking about other sports, so you're fine.
There you go. So that's what happens when you have a hockey guest on. But the referees need to be more lenient here on the line changes, like, okay, we're giving you an extra 3 seconds. The referees have to be aware and the players to keep their eyes on the bench, because the coach needs a proper way to communicate. I can understand the urgency of you think you're not being heard. And so, the ref might not halt the face-off, or a player might miss your instructions. So there needs to be leniency on what the coach wants to communicate.
Okay. I have a problem with that statement. And the reason that I have a problem with that is I practiced with the varsity soccer team that I was on in September before everything started getting really stupid. I wore a mask. I had no problem communicating with any of my teammates outdoors on a soccer field across the field from each other.
No, and I totally agree with you.
You were able to yell, no problem. There's no one in the rinks in Canada.
They'll argue that they need to communicate between whistles and the music is blaring. And then you have, 40.
Oh, muffin.
I know, but they have a union that backs them too. Don't forget about that. So concessions.
That's fine. So use the union to turn down the music in the rink. Because you want to know what? You could turn that music down, but leave it turned up in the broadcast. Okay?
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Yep.
You can do that. There's a way.
There is a way. You're right. You and I, again, are thinking sensibly. But when people want their way and money is on the line, as it is in the NHL, cooler heads do not prevail. Sensible ideas do not prevail. Now, another thing that I saw that just absolutely drove me nuts, and the NHL promoted this video. Now, again, it's in Washington. So this is the US of A who's handling this situation differently from everyone else. So Washington post-game to celebrate their victory. That's cool. They're going to have their own players of the game, and they're giving away headbands. So now these headbands are going to circulate the dressing room, and the guy who used to have it is going to pass it on to the guy who won it the next game, and it's going to circulate the dressing room in these COVID times. Again, they probably think they're fine because everyone's tested daily and all this kind of stuff. But I see Peter Laviolette pulling down his mask in front of the camera in the dressing room, yelling at all the players that we're going to have these headbands, passes them off to player of the game. It's just, it goes against everything. Gross. It's gross. It goes against everything that should be occurring, in the NHL put that video out there and was like, yeah, Washington's pumped to win. It's like, someone's got to be aware of this.
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't see the video, so I can't comment on that specifically. That just sounds disgusting to me. Like, as a hockey player, that sounds disgusting to me. The player of the game thing with, like, the Jets when they had the jet helmet, right, or the jet fighters, like, goggle and helmet and everything, or like the construction helmet or whatever, like that stuff, fine. I totally get that. That's a team bonding thing. I love that. The team that I used to coach, we were ironically the Jets as well, but we actually had a parent who knew somebody who used to be a fighter pilot. So they had the fighter pilot goggles and the leather helmet that goes under the actual helmet. So we got that, and that was what we passed around after games for 6 and 7 year olds. Like, that's cool. I love that kind of stuff.
But
a headband?
That's
gross.
Cobra Kai, whatever. It's a Netflix show.
That is disgusting.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the passing around that I see an issue with. Like if someone is testing positive, it's like, oh my goodness, who's had the headband in the last couple days, right? Or if it's in that guy's stall and he tests positive, headband ritual over. Like it's just you'd hope. Yeah. Who knows, right? I don't know.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here.
Whatever. These are just observations. There are opinions. Don't want to get preachy because, the mask thing has become a polarizing issue. And it's continued, unfortunately, it's continued evidence of NHL people being in their own world and not thinking that this pandemic applies to them in the workplace. And it applies to everybody. Yeah. So it's going to be it's going to be an issue all year. Nick, we will come right back with our newest segment, Players of the Week. We are back. 20 minutes on ice. It's now time for our newest segment, Players of the Week. Now, we've broken this up into Skater of the Week, Goalie of the Week, and Rookie of the Week. Nick, it's time. So here we go. Players of the Week. Skater of the Week. His team didn't do so well. I have two choices here, but because I've decided to go first, Skater of the Week goes to
rude.
Connor McDavid, who he's had two quiet games, but that game where he had the hat trick against Vancouver, just again coming out and proving why he's the greatest hockey player in the world right now. And a guy who, according to the broadcast, he said, last year he said, I need to find new ways to score because in Connor McDavid's mind, he wasn't scoring enough. And he comes out, scores a hat trick, and it's a goal three different ways. One's off the rush, changing speeds. One, he finds a garbage puck in the net. One's an incredible shot. I mean, Connor McDavid just again proving best player in the world right now.
Yeah, and there's very few players that can even compete with him for that title. One of them isn't playing this year in Kucherov. The other two are Leon Draisaitl, who has 5 points as well in his first 3 games for Edmonton, all assists. But that's what happens when you're playing power play with McDavid. And then the other one's McKinnon. And I think those guys are the only ones that will compete with McDavid over the next few years, but he's still like a step ahead of all of those guys somehow, which is incredible to say. I'm going to go a little bit on a different path than you. I think McDavid, although he had 2 quiet games, and I'm putting that in quotation because he looked phenomenal in every single game that the Oilers have played this year.
Yep.
I'm going to go Travis Konechny. 3 assists, 3 goals, 2 assists in 2 games. He's been on the score sheet every game that they've had. He's looked good. He has a power play goal. He has a 4 even strength points. He's doing it very well. And let's not forget that he's been on the ice for only 15 minutes a game. So he's doing it with 7 minutes less than Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. So
in 2 games against the Penguins, the Flyers look good. Like this is a team and everything's kind of evenly distributed on that team. You got to watch out a little bit for everyone. Now they may run into some trouble here with Couturier being out with an injury, but so is my fantasy team. It's very upsetting. I got lucky. I got McDavid this year, so I'm doing okay in the fantasy hockey. But I was surprised by the Flyers last year. I'm not surprised by them this year now. It's going to be really fun to watch them as a complete team.
I have them winning the East Division, and there's a reason for that. I think they are a complete team 1 through 23.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like a new Boston. I don't think they're at that level yet, but it's almost like a new Boston. So
they're a new era Boston.
Yes.
Boston's the big Boston was the big body, lots of hardworking players.
Yep.
These guys are just faster. Like they're not as big, but they're fast, and they're going to prove it to you that they're fast.
Nick,
Also, JVR goal.
JVR, there you go. Nick, go ahead. I'll let you go first on goalie of the week.
Goalie of the week. There's a few that got shutouts, but I don't think any were as impressive as Varlamov. And I just think what he did for that Islanders team and the potential that he could be for this Islanders team. I saw him in Colorado a lot. He has the potential to be a very good number one goalie, and I would say bottom end of the superstar goalies. Again, I have elite and superstar. I think he could be a superstar goalie. I do think he could be a superstar goalie. He hasn't shown it fully through an entire season yet, but he has the potential. And that first game, 24 saves in a shutout, he looked phenomenal. Also, shout out to the current Colorado goalie in Grubauer, I believe it was this week, who got a shutout and an assist.
Yeah, you gotta love that game. That's about as close to a Gordie Howe hat trick that a goalie can get there. So,
but he's looked good too in two games for Colorado. So.
Colorado's looked good. I know St. Louis beat them that first game. St. Louis looked really good, but
Colorado looked almost disinterested. I want to put this out there. They almost looked disinterested in the first game, like, oh, we should win this game. Kind of were just like skating around. St. Louis looked good, don't get me wrong, but like Colorado was kind of disinterested. And then they lost, and then they came back Friday night and just were like, screw you.
Shove it right back down the Blues' throat. So I think you'll have a lot of that this year where teams kind of get the jolt in that first game. There's a lot of back-to-backs against the same team, and they'll come back and you'll see a completely different situation. So
I agree. 100%.
Getting back to
who's your goalie of the week, my friend?
Goalie of the week, Nashville Predators, UC Saros. Now 2 wins, no shutouts for UC Saros, but they beat Columbus Blue Jackets twice. I love the fact that 70 plus saves total in the 2 games. One game was 40 plus shots. Another game was 30 plus shots. He only let in 3 goals. There's a bit of a question mark. Can he be the starter? And that's a great way to show up at the beginning of the season and just be like, yep, I'm ready to go, guys. This is what I'm going to do for you. So, again, still don't know if that's going to continue through the whole season, but I just love the statement. UC Saros ready to go for the Preds and shuts the door. And there was a couple saves that you can't ask your goalie to make, but you need them to make those saves, and he did that as well. So,
for sure.
UC Saros, goalie of the week.
2 quick goalie comments before we move on to the rookies, though.
Yes.
Also, shout out Mackenzie Blackwood. I know he's won a game, went to overtime in both games that the Devils have played with him in front, lost the second one, but he's looked very good. And save of the year candidate already from Malcolm Subban, even though he got blown out in his first game. That was an unbelievable save.
The Chicago goalies need to buckle up because that's going to be a tough year. As far as Blackwood goes, he must be salivating, right? Like he thought, okay, I'm going to have to maybe share the net, battle for the net with Crawford. All of a sudden, it's yours now because we don't have a choice. And he must be salivating and ready to go, and even more motivated than he would have normally been. So
62 saves on 65 shots in 2 games. He's looked very good.
That was and that second game, Jersey Boston, where Jersey won it with 2 seconds to go. That was a fantastic game, and that was a 2-1 game as well. So really good to see.
Yeah, we were actually talking during that game, you and me.
Yep, absolutely. It was another one of those games. It's Saturday afternoon. What are you doing? Nothing. I'll just throw on whatever.
Hey, what's up, Nick? Are you watching the game?
Yeah, exactly. It is time for Rookie of the Week. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm going to give it to Josh Norris, Ottawa Senators. They're giving him top line, first line center. I'm going with Josh Norris. I know there's other candidates.
You just ripped on him.
No. I said he could be a potential. I didn't say.
No, but you're like, oh, they have Josh Norris at first line center.
Just because Dubois is better than Norris doesn't mean I think Norris sucks. But I like the story here. A guy who was pegged as maybe a third line player all of a sudden shows up to camp for the past couple of years with the organization, and they're like, wow, we got something with this player. He's showing us something. And he's playing in the NHL with, some pressure, but not a whole heap of pressure to perform. And he puts up 2 assists in the 2 games between the Sens and Leafs. I just like the story. He performed. He put points on the board. He is playing top line, and from the games I saw, he doesn't look out of place. It doesn't look like he's overexerting himself to be a top line center. So that's why he's my rookie of the week this week.
He's looked very good. And my rookie of the week is the obvious one in Kirill Kaprizov. 4 points, 2 games for Dallas, playing over 20 minutes a game, which is one of the highest minute totals of any player, any rookie player right now, including all of the defensemen. And he's a forward. Let's not forget that. Yeah. He's looked very good. Or sorry, not Dallas, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Dallas.
But he had the overtime winner there against Los Angeles. That's a fantastic way to score your first ever career goal. I'm
going to throw, because it's the first week, I'm throwing some honorable mentions out. I've done it for the other two. I'm going to keep doing it. Niels Höglander looks legit for Vancouver. Keep an eye on him this year. Alexander Romanov from Montreal at the defenseman looks very good. I know he's not going to necessarily put up a whole lot of points. He got an assist in the game, but he just looked very good, playing 18 minutes a game as a rookie defenseman. That's huge. And I'm going to throw another Ottawa player out there, Tim Stützle. That goal was ridiculous.
The one hopper and just, finds the seam in the net. Yeah, he's going to be good. People know he's going to be good, but he's going to be so good. Almost like the first of a new generation, it seems like. Just an elite. He could be an elite level player. He's showing a lot of that. He's a 3rd overall pick, so there's a reason that he's the 3rd overall pick.
And surprised by the Washington rookie goalie, Vanecek. He looked very good in his first game. 1 goal against, got the win. He looked very good.
I haven't been tracking him, so. No.
I was surprised. I was very surprised by him.
Very good. I thought about going with Phil the Thrill Kessel for my skater of the week. 3 goals so far in 2 games, but maybe another time, Phil.
Honorable mention for Phil. Okay, honorable mention.
All right, Nick, you ready to fire up the randomizer, see what we're going to be doing this week?
I guess so. Let's do it.
Hammer it. Ice Chips. This is our trivia contest.
Oh, man. We haven't played this one in a long time.
We haven't had trivia. So we just got to get our questions that we do save up for the trivia portion that comes up. This is a very simple game. We each get to ask 3 questions. The idea is that your first question is kind of an easier question worth 1 point. Question number 2, a little harder, worth 2 points. Third question should be your hardest question. It is worth 3 points. Nick, have you got your questions ready?
I have 2 of them. Give me 1 second. You ask one first.
All right, I'll lead off. So here we go. The Pittsburgh Penguins, first team to win back-to-back cups since Detroit in 97-98. Pittsburgh won in 16 and 17. Name the 2 teams they defeated in 16 and 17.
Chicago.
To just let everyone know, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that we're not using the help of our Google.
I was searching up something before he asked the question. It had nothing to do with the question itself.
We're not using our Googleizers to find out the answers for this one. So go ahead, Nick. Who are the 2 teams that Pittsburgh defeated in 16 and 17 to win the Stanley Cup? He's got his eyes closed. He's thinking extra hard. Nope.
I should know this.
This is the number 1 question.
This is the easy question?
This is the easy question.
I'm not thinking straight.
I even went in your era here, Nick.
I know. Shut up. Chicago's one of them, right? Or am I completely off?
No, Chicago's not one of them. Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm thinking when Chicago and Detroit kept playing back-to-back in...
Yep.
When Hotza was... for some reason, I thought that was the same sort of era.
Nick, we're going to give you 5 seconds here.
San Jose?
That's correct. Yep, 2016. Put another 5 seconds on the board for 2000.
So I'm looking for the one after San Jose.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Just making sure.
3.
Was it LA?
2, not LA. Sorry, Nick. No. It was the Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators.
Oh, right, when Renee. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Nope, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's give you a half point on that one. We'll give you a half point because you got San Jose. Even if we took Chicago as a wrong answer, we'll take the half point on San Jose. your question the first, Nick.
But the half point is not really worth it.
Whatever. You got San Jose. Take the point and run.
Oh, fine.
Question the first from you.
Because it's been mentioned about 150 times in the last 3 weeks.
Oh, boy.
Tim Stützle, the German superstar phenom kid, played for what team in the DEL?
Oh, come on.
2 years.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's been mentioned on every game that he's played in 20 times.
Yeah, see, the problem is...
I know you were watching the Leaf games.
I'm watching them, but my wife is talking over them when they happen. So I got to be
also mentioned in the World Juniors the last 2 years.
And I've told you I don't watch the World Juniors. I only know one team, so I'm going to go with Mannheim.
You got it. Very good.
That's what
Adler Mannheim.
That's what you get for knowing one team in the German league. Thank you, NHL 14 or what? 14. All right.
Well done. Well done.
Okay, Nick, I'll give you a bit of a buffer on this one, okay? +2 either way, so I'll let you know the question. Most points by Connor McDavid in a season. You're not allowed to use your Googleizer, and you can go +2 either way.
Sorry, I was still on the Stützle page. I'm sorry. I'll move my hands away.
Okay, the most points in a season.
Is that better?
That's better. That should be your trivia position.
Most points in a season from Connor McDavid so far. Does this include juniors?
No. So NHL. Most points in an NHL season.
I'm just making sure.
Fair question.
Didn't he have like 160 points one year in junior?
Oh, we know
something stupid.
We know he's ridiculous. His NHL's highest point total. I'll give you a +2 either way.
+2 either way. Highest NHL point total.
Yeah. It was 2 years ago.
109.
109. Oh, Nick, you were close, but it was 116.
Oh, man. You know the sad thing? I was going to say 117 first.
See, I was when I thought about
I was going to say 117.
He had 41 goals, 75 assists that season 2 years ago. When I was thinking about this question, I didn't know the answer. I honestly had to go look it up, obviously. I was thinking to myself, what would I guess? And I would have been high. I would have guessed about 125. But he was 116 in 2018, 2019. So, Nick, you stay at half a point. Hit me with
awesome. I'm killing it.
It's 1 to 0.5. Give me your question number 2.
Okay, I'm just give me 1 second just to make sure I have the right year.
Nick wants to confirm because if I gave him the answer and he told me wrong, and then we would have to go to the judges.
There would be an issue. I would hate to have that issue, so we're just gonna confirm what year this was.
I feel like this is a big question coming up. Like if you have to confirm it, I feel like this is going to be a tough one coming up here.
Well, it's a good one, but all right.
Here he goes.
So this is actually more related to Canadian hockey, but in the youth sports ranks.
Oh, no.
Hold on. It's NHL related. Don't worry. In the youth sports ranks currently, there is a coach of one of the teams that had a semi-successful NHL career, including leading all rookies in goals in 1989-90.
Wow.
Who is this player? And Ryan, we've had this conversation before, and I've mentioned his name multiple times when we were at work.
Oh, no.
So this is why it's the second question and not the last question.
See, I know who won the Calder in 89. I don't know who won the Calder in 90.
He did not. I'll also give you the hint. He did not actually win the Calder, but he led all rookies in goals that year.
Who's a rookie in 1990? Oh, geez. Good question, Nick. Heck of a question here. So it's not Sergei Makarov. That's not my answer because he won the Calder in 89 or 90 with the Flames. But
it was that year though. It was that year. Makarov won that year.
Who did he beat out? Who am I thinking about? Who should be in the youth sports ranks?
I can give you some of the other players who were in the Calder running that year if you would like.
Okay.
Were not this player.
Okay, give me a couple players.
Mike Modano finished second in the Calder voting.
Okay.
3 goals behind this player. Jeremy Roenick finished third in the Calder ranking. Rod Brindamore finished 4th in the Calder ranking. Mark Recchi finished 5th in the Calder ranking. Those 5 are the 5 people who finished ahead of this guy.
Okay.
In the Calder ranking in this season.
Okay, I don't know what the answer is. I have 2 I have two ideas in my head. So I'm just going to throw out Owen Nolan.
It's not Owen Nolan. I'm sorry.
Okay, unofficially, Mike Ricci.
No, it's not Mark Ricci. Mike Ricci.
Mike
sorry.
Ricci.
No, I'm sorry. Mark Recchi's name is right on my page, and you say Mark Ricci or Mike Ricci.
Mike
I'm like,
Ricci. I know.
Brain froze.
No, who was it? Who is it, Nick?
It is the current Nipissing Lakers women's head coach, Darren Turcotte.
Darren Turcotte. And does he not have a kid who played in the World Juniors recently?
I believe he did, yes.
Yeah, okay. Darren Turcotte. Buffalo, was it not?
Rangers.
Darn. Shows
the other New York team. Fuck.
Yeah, that is a hell of a question. Way to go, Nick.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of talking to him pregame and asking him questions, and his hockey knowledge is ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Like, the guy knows the game better than anyone you will ever talk to.
I love it. That's so awesome.
But he had 66 points in his rookie season, 32 goals, 34 assists, followed that up with 67 the next year.
Nice. And he's not like that year. He's not the name that you would think of, which is why that makes it such a solid question, but fantastic question. All right. I got my third question. This is meant to be the hardest question. And I'm now scared about what your third question.
Okay. My hands are off the computer.
All right. The KHL championship trophy. Who is it named after? And I will throw in a bonus point. So this is actually worth 4 points. If you can tell me what that person did.
It's not Vladimir Putin, right?
No, it's not.
Sorry, I had to make the joke. What this person did?
Well,
I'm assuming they're a hockey player, but that kind of makes me think otherwise.
It's the KHL, so careful there. Tell me, you can tell me the name of the cup, or, well, the question is, who is it named after? So if you just give me the last name, that's fine, because that's what the cup's called. And then for the bonus point, tell me what he did. This is the tough question.
I'm not gonna get it at all.
Throw a name out.
Was it a politician? Was it a politician or like a philosopher?
Neither. Nope. Sorry.
Okay.
It is the Gagarin Cup, named after Yuri Gagarin, who was the first human in space. The Gagarin Cup.
Nope. Would not have got that.
Okay. Well,
that's a cool name though. Like I will give credit to the KHL. I did not know that was the name, but that's a pretty cool name. So good for them.
It's a cool looking trophy too. So, I mean, it looks old, but the KHL has only been around 11 or 12 seasons. So
the trophy's probably old.
It was probably awarded.
Reasoning for the
it was probably awarded in like the Russian Super League as well. Okay, Nick, it's your turn for the final trivia question. I'm still up 1 point to half a point.
So you win regardless?
Yep. Okay, carry on. I need to demolish you.
Just for shits and giggles then. 2 players were traded for each other twice in the same season. One of them was traded 3 times in that year. The question was going to be, can you name them both? I will be impressed if you can name either of them. One and the other player in the 3 trades, because remember, these guys were traded for each other twice. In the 3rd trade for the other player, it was Dominic Hasek before he was Dominic Hasek.
Okay. So that indicates to me we're talking Chicago and Buffalo here. Chicago and Buffalo. Who went back and forth? Wow.
Would you like to know the other team involved?
Is it not Chicago and Buffalo?
Well, no, for the other trade.
Oh, sure. Yeah, hit me with the other trade.
Winnipeg was the other team involved.
Okay, I'm gonna. I probably don't know this. I'm gonna throw out a name here, and this may screw me off the hop. Dave Manson.
No.
Okay. Not
even close.
Donald Audette.
No.
Christian Rutu.
He is one of them.
Oh my god, that doesn't count. I had to get him on the 3rd try. Okay, Christian Rutu.
But he's not. So the player that was traded 3 times is the one that you need to look for. Rutu was traded twice.
Who am I talking about here? No, I wouldn't have a clue, Nick. I mean, you're going to mention him, and I'm going to be like, oh, but I really wouldn't know.
All right, so the player that was traded 3 times in the same off season.
Wow.
was Stefan Beauregard.
Stefan Beauregard, goalie.
The short-lived backup goalie.
Yep. Beauregard.
So
Good
he was
one.
traded from Winnipeg to Buffalo for Christian Ruutu,
Really?
then traded to Chicago for an unknown Dominic Hasek, and then traded from Chicago back to Winnipeg for Christian Ruutu. And then shortly after the season started, he was traded again from Winnipeg to Philly.
And how quickly do you have the dates on these trades?
I don't have the dates in front of me. Give me 1 second. I can pull them up for you.
Yeah,
Just
that's
give me-
interesting. I wonder if it happened all within one day and was orchestrated that way, or if just like
That would have been useless, though.
well, I don't know. That's a lot of mind changing in the middle.
So the first trade happened June 15th, 92.
So yeah, a bit after the Stanley Cup final.
Second one was August 7th, 92.
2 months later, and they've changed.
And the
their
third
mind.
one was August 10th.
and then
And then he was traded to Philly for future considerations on October 1st. And then he was traded again June 11th, 1993 to Winnipeg, back to Winnipeg from Philly for future consideration.
So where did he end up on August 10th? Stefan Beauregard. Where did he end up on August
He ended
10th?
up in Winnipeg on August 10th. So,
so-
he went back to Winnipeg
So Winnipeg trades him away in mid-June. Then
for Christian Ruutu.
for Christian Ruutu. And then Beauregard gets traded to Chicago.
Yep.
Yep, in August. And Winnipeg
With the fourth round pick that turned
Wow.
out to be Eric Daze.
Eric Daze.
Daze. For Dominic Hasek.
Wow. What a trade. Love the 90. Okay, so then Winnipeg gets wind that this guy might be available in Chicago, and within 3 days, they're like, yeah, get him back.
For the guy that they traded
Yeah,
him for originally.
We really don't want that guy. We want our goalie back. We've made a mistake.
And then 2 months later, flip him again to Philly for nothing.
October the 1st, like, has the season even started by that point? And they're like, oh, no, wait, we really did want to get him out of here. We really did want to trade him.
Sorry, we thought he was better. He's not better. We got rid of him again.
We've made the same mistake again. We got to get him out of here. That's unbelievable. That is a fantastic question. I love that one. Well done.
I had two good questions. I just couldn't answer any.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's our trivia knowledge. The final score is 1 point for me, half a point for Nick. That's just how it goes here. There you go.
Killing it.
There's the horn that brings an end to this 20 Minutes on Ice. Be sure to subscribe to the show. Give us a like on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button. You can follow me on Twitter at Ryan_H16. You can follow Nick at Nick McVicker, and you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at 20 Minutes on Ice. You can head on over to garagedoorsports.com and find us under the shows tab. Nick, breaking news. You have an update for the Barkey and Hubie tracker.
Barks and Hubie tracker.
Barks and Hubie. Sorry, it's a new program. I'm trying to get used to it.
The Barks and Hubie tracker is updated as they both picked up point on Florida's last goal of the game. This time, Huberdeau off of an assist from Barkov. So Barkov is on the board with 1 assist, but Huberdeau does have the lead with a goal and 2 assists so far through 1 game. And folks, don't forget to leave a comment and make sure to send any donations to Ryan so that he can get a stand for his background.
It's trying to attack me, and so that's why I'm trying to end the show.
The Jets are really mad at him for not understanding who Stefan Beauregard is.
I know who he was. I had his pro set, NHL pro set card. But yeah, definitely. So before the background stand kills me, we'll be back. We'll be back next week with more 20 Minutes on Ice. Thank you for listening, everybody. Goodbye.